When he was 34, Alex thought he had the man flu, but collapsed and was rushed to the hospital where he was given just hours to live and a 3% chance of survival. He had contracted Strep A, followed by septicemia, which led to him having all 4 limbs amputated. As well as losing his limbs, Alex lost his lips and nose. But for all he lost, he gained so much. A life with more purpose and passion to serve than he had ever known. A quad amputee who advocates for assistive technology and inclusive innovation, Alex Lewis is an inspiration for all.
Alex Lewis, first of all, thank you so much for taking time to have this conversation with me today. So appreciate you.
It's a pleasure. Well, thank you for having me back.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just bring people up to speed. For those who are unfamiliar with your story, Alex, please share, how was it that you lost your limbs?
So I caught a rare case of invasive group A strep back in 2013, and that led to septicemia, toxic shock syndrome, necrotizing fasciitis, kidney failure, dialysis, all sorts of things. So that was end of 2013, and then I spent the next 8 months in hospital going through double above knee amputation, above elbow single arm amputation, and below elbow single arm amputation, and then facial surgeries to try and rebuild my face.
And when people think strep, they think, oh, I've got a sore throat. They don't think about what that can lead to. They don't think about how a life can change so quickly.
No, it's been quite interesting recently. So here in the UK, we've had a sharp increase in numbers of group A strep. Over the end of last year and early this year, I think the deaths for children below 12 are up by 90%, 85-90%. It's crazy, because the pandemic and the children's baseline immunity level is so low that invasive group A is coming on board, and it's been more in the press and people have been asking me more questions about it. So the awareness actually here in the UK has gone up quite a lot, and I think all the parents that I know and have spoken to that have got young kids, they've all been made aware of symptoms, illnesses that can lead to eye gas, as it's called. So yeah, I mean, we've had quite an awareness push in the UK, but globally it's very, very rare for people to know what it can lead to. As you say, in the US, it's a sore throat, strep throat. But yeah, unfortunately, through the pandemic, the numbers are going to go up and up, I'm afraid, at the moment.
Right. And so to your point, it's about becoming more aware, becoming more familiar with things. I'd like to talk about what people are familiar about when we talk about things like horse whisperer and dog whisperer. Like, people know these references, right?
Yeah.
What I want to talk about is muscle whisperer. So again, for those who are not aware, through a chance meeting with a PhD student at Imperial University, you, Alex, were invited to participate, to take part in this research that was going on. Please explain the science behind what is called muscle whispering technology and what that was like for you.
And so, yeah, muscle whispering technology. So when I met this student at a talk local to me one evening back in 2016, I think it was, he did this demonstration with a bionic hand, and he was explaining that all our muscles in our body make a unique sound. And he had devised a system where just through a band that could wrap around someone's forearm or bicep, he could calibrate the noises the muscles would make when, for instance, you point a finger or you clench your fist. And then he could calibrate a system where the bionic hand would then replicate that gesture. So the theory was that I would be able to wear the strap, sat in an office in London, and I would be able to imagine rebuilding a satellite with my hands and fingers and everything, and going through all the motions. And bionic hands in space would be able to carry out fixing a satellite. Was how he pitched it, and I just thought, that's just ridiculous. That can't happen, surely. But he invited me along to London because he said he couldn't get end users who wear prosthetic limbs, upper limb predominantly, to take part in any kind of trial or study. So we became patient one, really, our end user research led patient one up at Imperial, and we worked with Sam and his tech for about 4 years, I would think, start to finish. And he was focusing on bionic limbs because he thought there were loads and loads of people all over the world that would need bionic hands. But the numbers that he was quoting was wildly inflated. And we knew roughly what the numbers were, and it just wasn't enough to, there wasn't a market size for it, really, not yet. So he discovered that he could use his system and another closed loop system to diagnose and treat Parkinsonian and tremor symptoms. So the long-term prospect of the company, Surge Technology, is that if you suffer with Parkinson's or tremor, there will be a box on your wall in years to come, and all you need to do is put your finger into that box, and that will give you enough electrical charge to stop your muscles shaking through the day. So that's the long-term goal of this amazing company. And this was something so random and opportune, and yeah, we founded a company out of Imperial back in 2020, and these guys have gone great guns since then. So yeah, muscle whispering is like a big thing in my life. Incredible.
It's absolutely incredible. And what I love about what you just shared too is to take one use case. Well, here's another use case, and how one inspired technology can really fuel innovation in so many different ways for so many different people to serve so many different causes.
Absolutely. And what I found when I was about 18, 19, all my mates went to university, and it was only to get a better job at the end of uni. Basically, they were there for 3 or 5 years, whatever it may be, and it was all about making more money when they finally entered the working market. But all the students that I've met in the last 6 or 7 years all want to make a difference. They want to help humanity, really. And they're so passionate and engaged when somebody who has limb difference or a disability is willing to come in and talk to them and be honest and open about the situation, about how hard some things are, how much they enjoy certain things. How do we develop a prosthetic attachment that I can go fly fishing with, because that's a hobby that I used to do with my wife and I miss it because I lost my arm. All these kids are just so uber keen to help and try and find a solution, especially in the engineering departments. So it's really, I find it like incredibly, I just find it so inspiring that these kids want to help, because I never grew up in that kind of mentality when I was younger. So to see it in the unis now, it does give me quite a warm feeling that in the years to come, there's going to be amazing technologies and amazing advancements in assistive tech coming out of the universities, which is just amazing for all who needs it.
Absolutely. And, like you say, that the technology that comes out, the innovations that come out, will be not in service of self, but in service of others. Like, people really find passionate.
Yeah. It's amazing. A lot of the kids that we work with have gone on to get awards for their degrees because they were working with me closely. I'm more than happy to give my time to students who are on a course anywhere in the world, and they want somebody to give them a real life feedback about what it's like with no legs, no arms, no fingers, no wrists, no hands, whatever, and to be honest and open with them. And I think then they're more enthused and engaged because they might have gone down a certain pathway that isn't quite right. And I think it's our responsibility as an end user that we then guide them along the pathway that is right, for fellow amputees in similar situations.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Absolutely love it.
Adaptive technology, it's on the rise. We're hearing about it more and more.
Yeah.
My question is it rising quick enough? Is there a gap right now that tech needs to fill to fulfill equitable innovation?
Yeah, I think unfortunately I can only speak about my circumstances as a quadruple amputee. So, I lost my limbs, and they give me body power prosthesis, and they're not very good. And then I go and look for other equipment, and then I see, slightly better body power prosthesis. And then you see the bionic hands, and then you see the Marvel characters, and you see Iron Man and all those guys. And the psyche is that equipment is out there, amazing. And you see all these glossy ads of bionic hands doing amazing things, and some are $100,000, some are $10,000, and it just looks amazing. But the reality is that there's nothing in between. You've either got around $3,000, or you're jumping to 10 to 30 to 50 to 70 to 100. And in the UK, as an NHS patient as I am, I self-funded my prosthetics as much as I can. The bionic equipment is just not realistic to me at any point in my life, I don't think, unless I win the lottery. Then I will buy some cool kit. But I know in my heart that kit would not make my life any better. I would not be any more independent. I just look cooler. And I think that's the problem. It's jumped so far ahead, and there's great advancements, but they're not making equipment that is as functional as it is aesthetic, and as functional and aesthetic as it is cost-wise in a cost comparison. So I see a divide from what a lot of people are getting in the developing world, all into Europe and some of the US. And then I'm seeing this massive gulf in between, and all the bionic kit and the microprocessor knee joints. I think I had a quote through the other day for me, because I wanted to know what my current cost would be if I had bionic elbow, bionic wrists, hands, fingers, knees, wrists, feet, everything I'm missing. And it was about $600,000 to put me in equipment. And that's $600,000 every 5 years. So it's just wildly out of control. And for us and the research work we do, all the kids that we work with, the students, it's think global. Don't think Western, don't think European, think global. Mm-hmm. There's a tiny amount, 3% globally of all amputees have access to and are comprehensive users of prosthetics. So there's a massive gulf just not getting anything that they need. And in my eyes, that's where we need to focus on.
Yeah, addressing it on the global level. So let's stay here with numbers. Let's talk numbers for a moment, because as you mentioned, prosthetics, they are not inexpensive. And with your estimation, the expenses that you would have, we're talking like £7 million. So here enters Project, which I love, Project Limitless. So this is your initiative, providing soft shell prosthetic arms for UK children. Last year, am I right that every day one child with an upper limb difference received support through Project Limitless? Yeah,
one a day.
So I would love just to hear the story behind this. How did this all come to be, this work that you're doing specifically here?
So again, it was a user-led study at Imperial, working with a student called Nate. And Nate's just a really, really lovely guy. And he wanted to build me a bionic hand, and he was going to put all these things in it, and he was adamant that that's what I needed. But the end product that he created was was terrible. I mean, you couldn't wear it, and you would never be seen dead in it if you left the university. And he could see my disappointment when I was giving them feedback on the project. And he stayed behind. All the other students went, and he stayed behind. And he said, I realise now that what I should have done is ask you at the beginning, what do you want? Or what do you need? And let us design and build something that will work for you. And I said, that's exactly the attitude. And I said, if you do that, and if you ask me now, what do I want? I want something functional, comfortable, and affordable. I said, you marry those three and you'll have a great product. So he went away and he worked on it for a couple of years, and we were always kind of dipping in, working with him. and he founded MIT originally, that moved on to Koala. And then Koala started making soft shell sleeves for adults initially. So for me, other arm amputees that I'd met over the years. And we were, again, the first patients to trial them, to test them out. And then through lockdown, we realized that all the clinics were shut. So a lot of children couldn't get access or have enough manpower behind the scenes to make their new sockets, to develop or make new equipment for them. So me and Nate and the Douglas Barlow Foundation, who I'm an ambassador for, we had a meeting, and we said, look, why don't we see if we can drum up some interest in the UK, and we can supply children, because they're the ones missing out at the moment. They're stuck at home, they can't socialise, they're trying to work from home, which when you're 9 years old is terrible. Yeah. Let's see if we can give, add a bit of joy to their life at the moment. So we went on TV, and all of a sudden this outpouring of love in the UK came in, but it also meant that the funds started to come in. So we raised very, very quickly about £400,000. So that was enough to enable every child for a year. And since then, we've gone on to raise another 350. So we've now supplied 750 children in the UK with a free upper limb prosthetic since Limitless was born in the end of 2020. And what we're looking at now is almost like a circular economy. So we're going to run it again, and we're going to extend our age range from 10 to 18. But what we're going to get the younger kids to do is to send all their old arms back, because they're 2 years down the line. The chances are they've grown out of those prosthetics by now. So we want them to send their old arms back. We can recondition them at our HQ in London. And then me and 4 other people are going to go out to the Ukraine in a few weeks' time and start to build a relationship there to see if we can supply limbs to the children in the Ukraine, where again facilities are in and out of power. It's going to be a torrid time for children or anyone in the Ukraine. So I think we can help over there and be able to give free limbs to kids in the Ukraine as well.
Wow. And I love that, just being able to repurpose those assets, those limbs, and be able to serve others in that way.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it with normal traditional socket design is that once the socket is too tight, then you can't do anything with it. It gets binned. So amputees have so much kit in and around their homes. I mean, I've got arms and legs and feet and blades and all sorts of things dotted around my house. And I just send them to universities now, because I get the students to design better things than what I've got at home. But it also clears my home out, which my other half is quite pleased about. But we wanted something that we could possibly use for 4 to 6 years, rather than, a current prediction on a child is maybe when they're young, in and around sort of 9, 10 or 11, you're looking at a socket every 3 months. So 4 a year. So if you think that's 16 sockets over 4 years, and our children will get 2, and it gives them just as much functionality. It enables them to hold a pen, to hold a paintbrush, to ride a bike, to ride a scooter. It's really simple social things, and it empowers them, and it gives them independence and inclusivity. So it was a no-brainer, and it's one of the best things we've ever done.
So amazing. Alex, assisted by technology, you've gone and done so much since the loss of your limbs. Please just share, and I know you've done a lot, so what adventures have you been on, and which is your favorite too?
Okay, so I think skydiving was the first thing I did post-injury that kind of enthused me to do more adventurous stuff. So I wasn't an adventurous guy before that, falling ill, and skydiving was the first thing that I thought, actually, I've been missing out on a lot. So now I'm just going to do as much as I can. And then we kayaked around the southern tip of Greenland for 300 kilometers over 10 days, which was just stunning. And then I went out to South Africa on the Namibian border, and we kayaked along the Orange River for about 14 days, which was, again, unbelievable. And then I was not tired of going on holiday, but all I felt like I was doing was just that. I was going and having a great time in a lovely country, but there was no legacy. We were leaving nothing behind. And I felt that it was wrong of me to not involve my community, the disabled community, in some way. So the next thing we did was Ethiopia. So in 2019, we cycled on a university hand cycle, which was a solar-powered, battery-assisted, four-wheeled, custom-made, double above knee amputee hand cycle. So we cycled through the Simian Mountains, and we then summited Ethiopia's highest mountain, Ras Dashen, which is about 4,500 meters high. And then in the meantime, we set up a affordable wheelchair facility in Bahir Dar. So there's been a lot of war raging since we came back in 2019. So our factory now makes mobility aids, prosthetics, wheelchairs, wheelchair attachments for anyone with a disability coming down from the north, from the mountains into Bahir Dar. And then last year, I went to Namibia and I crossed the Namib Desert on a mobility scooter. Unfortunately, the hand cycle that I should have been riding across the desert on was stuck on a container ship for 6 months. So I never got to sit on it in Namibia, unfortunately. But I did have a amazing battery-powered attachment from Tri-Ride that attaches to my wheelchair. So I bumped my way across part of the desert for 14 days, which was great. And then this year, I'm going to do a 500-kilometer, 24-hour cycle race local to me to raise money for a local children's hospital. And then in June, I'm just about to receive a 20-foot sailing boat that we've adapted into a rowing boat. And then I'm going to row across the south of England, so 400 miles in June, and then cycle all the way back through the south of England. So that's what we're up to now, really. But for me, Ethiopia is the one for me, because I saw something that just changed my world. It really did completely rock my world, and I couldn't believe how so many with so little could be so welcoming, happy, content, and just to think that we make a slight difference to those lives is just, well, it nearly makes me cry, quite frankly. It was just an amazing 19 days with amazing people. You know, we're such a kind of ragtag group of guys all thrown together. But we took Emma Bet with us. So Emma Bet was a double above knee amputee. So she was hit by a truck when she was 3 and lost her legs. And when she returned from hospital with her mum, the tribal elders of her village said, look, you might as well leave her to die in the ditch. She's of no use to us whatsoever. She will not be inclusive in our community. So her mum, outraged, moved into the city, and that's where we met her when she was 21, and she was just a beacon of light, really, on that trip. She's the first double above knee Ethiopian to ever climb a mountain, and to think that we made that happen with her, and she was just legendary, really, and she inspired all of us, and yeah, it was fantastic. But that group of people, obviously we went over to Namibia last year, but some of us will be going to the Ukraine. A lot of them will take part in the row this year. We're all involved in the cycle race. So we've all stuck together because we all believe that as a group, we can make anything happen. And yeah, Ethiopia was just, life-changing.
That is such a beautiful, thank you so much for sharing that story. That's absolutely beautiful. Just thinking about what that must have been like, and it was just phenomenal. I mean, when I came back to the UK, and there was a hot shower, there was food, a comfy bed, everything that we had, all of us, when we returned to the UK, we could not get our heads around it. And I think a lot of us got very depressed, and we felt that we could have done so much more over there with more time, with more money. And it was a really tough time
And honestly, I was more depressed after Ethiopia than I ever was about losing my limbs. So that's the impact it had. And yeah, since then, for us, it's about developing AT, developing wheelchairs and prosthetics and stuff, and just being able to help a global community that's in need.
Well, I can see how that depression was converted into drive to just do more.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's no good me sitting at home worrying about stuff. We had to kind of move on, and then obviously the pandemic hit, and then Limitless was born out of that. So we've been very fortunate in that every event that we've done, one leads to another, then maybe one or two others, and then even more, and it's just this constant train of ideas and adventure, and it's amazing, really amazing.
It's incredible. So I'd like to quote you.
Oh, okay.
Never in a million years would I have attempted this with legs and arms, but I'm not the man I was. Alex, these are your words. Now I'd love to hear in more of your words. Please tell us about the man that you are now that you were not then.
So the man I am now just has a much wider appreciation of everything, whether it's bird song in the morning, whether it's doing homework with my son at night, whether it's going out for dinner with Lucy. I just enjoy my life more now than I've ever done before. And the man before I fell ill was a man that was just languishing, not living a life that he should have done. The best two things to come up out of those 33 years were Lucy and Sam. And luckily I managed, and well, between the three of us, we managed to hold on to each other and we stayed together. And, they've been the foundation, along with my best mate and friends and family, to build me up and move me forward. And once I started moving forward, which was probably back in hospital with maybe a few sit-ups in rehab or learning to transfer into a car, that was the beginning of just keep going. And we've sort of never stopped from that point. We've never even looked back really to think, oh, what if that happened, or what if this had happened? It's just so much now is just incredible in my life that there's no way in the world I would want my legs and arms back now if by some miracle of science that was feasible. Because what I've achieved in the last 9 years now just probably outweighs 3 of my previous lifetimes, if I'm honest, for what we've done. More importantly, who we've done it with. Above all else, it's the people that we've been involved with, that we've worked with, that have supported, that have given me ideas and I've given them ideas. And, now it's about harnessing that incredible network that we've built over the last 9 years and just doing some real good with it. And what I love about my life is it's just not normal. There is no 9 to 5. There is no, every day's different. Every night is different. Tomorrow I'm retrofitting a trailer so I can sleep in it for a month in June. Monday I receive a rowing boat. I've never even rowed as yet, and I'm rowing 400 miles in June. I have no idea what I'm doing. But it's exciting, and it means I've got to go down to the coast and get in there and learn to row in the cold. And what happens if I fall out the boat? And it's just so much is so thrilling and kind of dangerous, really. But we have support guys. But more importantly, we could raise a ton of money for charities that desperately need it while having the best time. Sure, it's going to be hard, it's difficult, but what I do now, it involves students and universities and companies and groups of people and charities, and it's such a vast array of people that's making it possible. And I guess that's what we want to do more of. We want more people, we want more ideas. We want to do the extraordinary. I'm never going to be the guy that's going to say, right, I'm going to run a race, or I'm going to do something that's been done before. For me, it's all about the unknown and how we make that possible, and who we bring along for the ride with us, and how they help and how they make it possible for us. So yeah. I mean, the guy that I am now could not be further away from the man that I was before I fell ill.
The man you are now is limitless.
Hopefully. Well, we'll find out in June when I go rowing.
I guess June will tell the tale.
June might be a different story.
So another quote of yours. It turns out that this is the best gig in the world. What was deemed an absolute tragedy has turned out to be the greatest journey. If you were to choose, and you've had so many moments, like you just said, so many things that you love about your life now, but if you were to choose one of the best moments along the way, and also one of the worst, what would those be? The best and the worst of times?
I think probably emotionally, it centers around my son. So the worst time was when he arrived in ICU and I was in Salisbury and I hadn't seen him for weeks on end, and Lucy brought him in. And when he came into the unit and he was sort of scurrying behind Lucy and looking around, and you could see all the machines and beeping, and he was like a rabbit in the headlights. And then when he saw me, he hid behind Lucy's legs. And I remember thinking then that was just the worst thing I've ever seen, ever seen. And I didn't have an answer as to how I could change that. I was at the mercy of the health service, my surgeons and the doctors, but that poor little lad just looked at me and thought, that isn't my dad. And any parent, if you could imagine that, it was just heartbreaking, utterly heartbreaking. And the best moment has been every moment since, where he pats me on the shoulder, he helps me fix a bike, or he goes out with me on a motorbike, or he'll jump in the boat for the row in June. When I go to his school with all the toys that I play with, and all the kids that are going, oh my God, that's your dad, he's amazing. And I see that, then that is the drive. Ultimately, that is the drive. So he has been part of the worst that wasn't his fault. But the best moment since has been just how we managed to try and rebuild the bridge that wasn't there, that had gone. Not for long, it was a short time, but man, it felt forever. Trying to get him to be happy with me, be able to see that I was still dad. And I think because of the dad I was, it just instilled a fire that I was never going to be that dad again. But for now, it was about him and how I could get him to get his head around the tragedy that we thought it was at the time. And now he can see that it's the best thing that ever happened to me. He can see the stuff that I do, who I work with. It's amazing, and he's part of it, and he's on that journey with me and Lucy and all my mates and my family. We're all on it together. But yeah, for me, every time he comes home from school, he'll say, what have you done today? Who have you spoken to? What have you broken? What are we building? What are we doing next? Where are we going? He's just infused by it. And I think that's probably the greatest achievement of all of us together that's worked to make it happen. Mm-hmm. That he is so at home with what happened to me and at ease with how I am, which is just amazing.
And I love being a parent. I can only imagine how incredibly difficult that worst moment that you shared would have been.
All you want to do every time you see your child upset, you just want to give them a hug and tell them it's going to be all right. And I couldn't do that. I was lying. I couldn't move. I couldn't, I think I lost my arm at that point. I had surgeries on my legs. I had no way of moving, and I couldn't really speak very well. And I just felt helpless. Absolutely, just utterly helpless. And Lucy was amazing. She was fantastic. And we could not Sam and I could have not reconnected without her. You know, she made sure that every night she was saying, "He's still your dad. That is daddy. Daddy's going to be fine. He's going to come out and he's going to be great and things are going to be fine." And she kept him going and going. So yeah, without her, you know, we wouldn't be in this kind of glorious state that we're in, really.
And the fact that from this loss, there's so much you gained again. And it seems then in that way that as much as you've grown as a person, you've been able to share that and give that to your son, to Lucy, to, like you say, your mates, your family, that they've been able to grow with you, sort of living vicariously, perhaps, maybe through what they've seen in you.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think another one of my greatest achievements is that the two guys that worked with Jeff Watson, who saved my life, is now one of my greatest friends. Alex Crick, my plastic surgeon, who was phenomenal in rebuilding me, she is now one of my greatest friends. My prosthetist is a good mate, great mate. And what I like now is that if I go to them and say, right, I'm thinking about going to the Ukraine, do you want to be part of it? They don't even hesitate. They just say, yes, we're in. And that for me is like, I would never have met you guys without Strep. And to think that I might not have them in my life would just be terrible. You know, what they've given me and what we're going to give others, it could be immeasurable in time. It's just such a amazing thing to be part of. But that's what I love. You know, if I go to someone and say, do you fancy going here? They're like, yeah, absolutely, let's do it. They're just so positive, and that's great for all concerned.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, so you told us about what you've done, what you're doing next. I guess right now I'd like to ask, you know, for those who feel limited by their abilities or constrained by their technologies or lack thereof, what words would you have to share, Alex? What words would you leave them with to give them hope?
All the hope lies in our children that go to university, our children that get involved and look at how we can, or they can, develop better ideas, better products. For me, all the blue sky creativity is in our kids. And somehow as a person with disabilities, we need to harness that and get them behind how they develop the ideas, design and technology, engineering courses, and get them enthused about how much they can help. So what we're going to do in the UK, and then hopefully we can roll it out globally, is we want to work with school children between the ages of 7 and 18. So every school child or group of children will work with an end user. So somebody that needs assistive technology. So it could be someone with glasses, hearing aids, wheelchairs, it could be mobility aids, it could be whatever they struggle with. What can the children dream up that could make their lives better? But it has to be someone that you know in your network. So it could be your neighbor, it could be your auntie, your grandfather, it could be anybody that you know. So we create this kind of network of everybody talking about their disabilities and what technology could be improved and how we make that happen. So the kids come up with an idea and they develop it over the course of about 2.5, 3 weeks. Then their design and technology teachers will then rate the best ideas. So the best ideas go forward to me and a group of judges. And then we feed those winning entries into our university ecosystem. So all the students that are looking for projects, and there's thousands of them in the UK, so I can only imagine globally how many kids are out there looking for ideas. The ideas go into the universities and the university students develop them further while still working with the child's idea, whose idea it was, and the end user who sparked the idea for the child. So we're all working together on these products. Now, the overall winner of the competition, so the child, the end user, and the university student or group that have designed something amazing, it will be prototyped, and then we'll then go and get seed funding to make it a product and try and get it into that AT space. That way, we're all part of it. It's not just one crazy idea, it's everybody working together to develop better ideas and get better products into that space. So we're running a pilot in September here in the UK, and then next year we will launch globally if we can. Because I think there's just so many students there just crying out for ideas that they could really just, in my mind, I see a 7-year-old designing something which could go on and change the world for a group of people with disabilities. That's what I want to see. And if we could get that year on year, can you imagine how amazing it would be? And then anyone with disabilities would be looking forward to what's coming out next, rather than thinking, I can't afford that, that's too expensive. These products have to be affordable. It's on the mantra, affordable, functional, comfortable.
Right.
If we can work on that, then I think we can change the world.
I would agree with you, and I like how you mentioned a child working with an end user, and that how important it is for the end user to be part of the process from the beginning, not a little checkbox at the end, but rather,
we all live with the frustrations of some of our equipment, and it's very hard to know how we improve upon that. What can we do? And I would think 99% of us, we just make do. We don't adapt it. We don't try and change it. We can't afford to buy loads and loads of other products. So we just deal with it and we work around it. But in this day and age, you shouldn't just have to work around a product like that. If you think what we've invented over the last 100 years and the technology revolution of the last 30, surely we can be building and developing better products around disability and assisted tech. And there are great companies out there doing it, and we work with them, we've seen them. We just need more of them. Yeah,
absolutely. And to make them pretty. I mean,
exactly. Why aren't they cool? We've all got an iPhone. We love it. Everyone loves an iPhone, don't they? When the iPhone came out, it was beautiful. It was sleek. It was a game changer for mobiles. Well, that's how assistive tech should look like. A phone is a bit of assistive tech, I think. I run my life on my phone, so that is assistive to me. But why aren't we seeing all the products like that? When are Apple going to do a wheelchair? That's the question. Maybe we need to push that.
An Apple chair, an iChair. Yes.
Yeah, no, that'd be cool.
Why not?
Exactly.
Thank you so much for taking this time and sharing all that you have. Thank you for doing the work that you do in service of others and elevating others, and for helping all of us become a bit more aware now. Thank you so much.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.